G'day guys, welcome to my Iron Splice feature video. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about NRL Round 5 recap for 2020 guys, so let's get started. So starting off in this match, we see the Sea Eagles going up against the Broncos. Now this game was an alright game. The Broncos were turning things around in the first half. They played a very good match in that half, and really for this game though, what I can say about it is they played an alright match until Manly in the second half obviously took home with the win and just fired up against the Broncos. And what I can say about it was the Broncos didn't really go as planned for the second half, but the first half was basically alright for them because they conceded 3 tries. But for the tries for this one, it was Tony Staggs, Xavier Coates and Darius Boyd. Darius Boyd played an alright match, so did Tony Staggs, he played an alright match also too. So did Xavier Coates also too, he played a really good match too. But for the Manly, tries were Tavita Verna, Daly Cherry Evans and Moses Sully. I reckon Daly Cherry Evans played a really good match in that game, conceded so many points, and I reckon that he just took things to an absolute victory. And what I can say about it was I think that he just really wanted this team to basically win against the Broncos anyway, and they obviously did, and they conceded the win 20 points to 18, and I took Manly by 14, which they only won by 2 points for this game. But they obviously scored 3 tries for both of them each, and they obviously have the penalty goal to conceded this match anyway. But my player of the match was Ruben Garrick for this one. I think that he was a really good player, and I really think that he stood out for this game, and he obviously took this job done for an absolute win. And I reckon well done for you to make this game looking like Manly were going to win anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Warriors going up against the Cowboys. Now what I can say about the Cowboys, they played a really good match, but in a couple of minutes though, Valentine Holmes obviously had an injury, and then I can't remember who else had an injury also too. Yeah, I can't remember who else though too, but someone else had an injury, which that was a really bad loss for the Cowboys. But Valentine Holmes, he played a really good match in the first half, but I don't think that he played in the second half of that game because he obviously got injured and sent straight to the sheds. But what I can say about it was I really think that the Cowboys were firing up in that match, taking the job done, but unfortunately though they didn't really concede enough points to make this match for a win against the Warriors. But let's just say for the Warriors though, they played an alright match. They're an alright squad, but they're just not a top 8 team that just concedes so many points, and then obviously a couple of wins can concede going through that consistency for their successful career. But what I can say about the Warriors was they played a really good match. Cody Nikorima had a fantastic game, and I just say well done to you for making this match a really good match anyway. But for the tries, it was obviously for the Warriors was Patrick Herbert, Elisa Katoa, Peter Hiku scored 3 tries, well done for you, Adam Pompey and Carl Lawton, well done for those ones. But for the Cowboys, the tries were Valentine Holmes, Colfeld scored 2 tries in that match, and Justin O'Neill and Francis Molo scored a try also too. So well done to you guys. Obviously, one obviously scored the tries anyway. But I really do think that you need to aim up your game for the Cowboys for the next match anyway. But for my player of the match, this guy just stood out for me. He was playing terrible at the start, but I really think that he just needs to have that push into that team. But my player of this game in the Warriors squad, it's yeah, I think it's number 6 or number 7 for the Warriors, is Cody Nikarima. He was an alright game, alright player, I meant to say, and he was just getting this job done for an absolute win. And I really think that this game was an absolute alright match for him, and he really stood the heart out for so many points. But it was a 37 points to 26 scoreline, and I took the Warriors by 12 points anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Eels going up against the Panthers. Now, excuse me, what I think about that game, I really think that this game was an important match, only because that this game was a really good game for the Panthers. They really challenged the Eels to obviously play a very good hard game of football. But in the first half for the Panthers, they played really well. They conceded, I think, 2 tries. I think, yes, they did, without conversions. But the only tries that really conceded for this match was Brian To'o and Josh Mansour. The only 2 tries for the 2 players that obviously scored for that game anyway. But for the Eels, though, they played a really good match. They really stood it hard, and they just think, for the first half of that match for the Parramatta Eels, they played absolutely terrible. But then, in the second half, they just fired up and they conceded 3 tries in a row. 3 tries. To make it 16 points to 10 for that victory. And Ryan Madison obviously scored a winning try to make it 16 points to 10. And I cannot believe that anyway. But for this game, it was definitely 16 points to 10. And I obviously went for the Eels by 10 points. And that game was a really good match. But it was a very important match, and a lot of people would think that this game was a really good match, and I recommend that this game was really hard and tough for each team to basically conceal the victory anyway. But who I think of the player of the match was number 7 for the Parramatta Eels. I'm just going to have to give it to this player because he is just helping us getting a victory every single time. And I really do hope that he can seal a really good career for our team. And this guy is Mitchell Moses. I'm going to have to say, well done to you. You made a very good effort for the Parramatta Eels to get a win up against the Panthers. 16 points to 10 anyway. And I really do think that this game was a really important match, but it was an average match anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Rabbitohs going up against the Titans. Now, this match was an alright match, but for the Rabbitohs, though, to concede up against the Titans, I knew for a fact that the Rabbitohs were basically going to fire up for this game and obviously get a win, and they obviously did. 32 points to 12. What a flogging. And I have to say, for the Rabbitohs, though, they are a really good team, and they just aim up their effort each time. But I did go for the Rabbitohs though by 16 points, and they obviously won by conceded big points anyway. But I'm sorry I have to say this, but BKR, your team needs to be a little bit more consistent, because this team is just nothing but a fake team. I'm sorry I have to say this, but I really do hope that if the Titans need to have a good career, they do need to have a good career. But obviously, for the breaking news coming in before a couple of days ago, that I heard that Corey Thompson is coming to the Titans team. I reckon that he's going to have a great career for the Titans. He's going to shift to the number 1 fullback squad. I really do hope that's a good signing anyway. Yeah, so what I can say is, for the tries for the Rabbitohs though were Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnston, Dane Gagai scored 2 tries, which was a double. Well done to him. and Braden Burns. Braden Burns had a really good match. And yeah, well done to you guys. To obviously had a great match. I would have to say this though, but Latrell Mitchell did all right in the fullback squad for that team, for that game anyway. And what I can say about the Titans for the tries only conceded was Philip Sami and Bryce Cartwright. Philip Sami is an alright player, but sometimes he just is terrible sometimes. But also too, my player of the match for this game goes to the winger, I think left or right winger, number 2, Dane Gagai. I really do like this player, and well done to you anyway to concede a double for that winning victory anyway. But I did go for the Rabbitohs though by 16 points. Obviously, I conceded a great victory, 32 points to 12, and I reckon that game was an absolute alright match anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Knights versus Storm. Now, this game was an alright match. Really, because when I went to Central Coast Stadium and saw this match, I saw a lot of Knights fans there, but no Melbourne Storm fans, which that was pretty much disappointing. But I did go for the Storm by 8 points, and they obviously won 26 points to 12. And I reckon that the Knights did an alright, for that match. And Kalen Ponga did a really good job for making this game a really good match. But unfortunately, though, they did lose up against the Melbourne Storm. But for the Knights, for the tries, were the only tries that conceded for this match was Bradman Best and Edric Lee. That match was a really good match for Bradman Best. He is just, when he gets out there, he is an absolute bloody, he's just a weapon. And every time that he gets the ball, he is just dangerous with the ball, always runs and is fast and gets conceded a try. But when he sees it, he will definitely conceal a try anyway. But for the Melbourne Storm, though, the only tries that conceded for that match was Riley Jacks, Suliasi Vunivalu, Tino Farmer Masuli, and Brandon Smith. And my player of the match for that game, what I just mentioned of, I think it was number 4 for that Newcastle Knights player, was Bradman Best. He was an absolute freak of player in that game, and he was just a really good player to just conceal that deal. But unfortunately, though, he was a really good player, but he didn't really concede a lot of tackles. But he's an alright player, but he needs to be a really good player just to conceal that victory anyway. But yeah, what I can say about it is, well done to the Melbourne Storm for getting this win up against the Newcastle Knights anyway. The next game of this match, we see the West Tigers going up against the Raiders. Now, this game was a really concealed, average game. But for the West Tigers, though, they were playing a very good match, which I can say that that I took the Raiders by 18 points, and they obviously won 14 points to 6 to scoreline. But the West Tigers, they played shocking in that match. I reckon David Norfoluma played alright, but he just didn't really conceal any tries or any line breaks or any try assists. But the only tries that for this player was Luke Brooks for the West Tigers. But let's move on to the Raiders. Now, Raiders are a very hard team to beat. They're a really good team, and they just, say for instance, when Jordan Rapana gets the ball, or when no, I can't remember what his name is. George Williams, that's it. Number 7. When George Williams gets the ball, he is an absolute freak. He just leads to getting the try assist anyway. But what I can say about it was, for the only Raiders tries were Jack Whiten and Nick Kotrick. Both of them played a really good match for that game. Nick Kotrick played an alright match, and I'm just going to have to say a 10 out of 10 for him. But the only player of the match for that game was Josh Hodgson. He played a really good game, and I really do think that he just pushes with that defense and just gets the ball and gets the job done. And every time he does not fail. He always gets it right, and he does not miss anything. Does not miss a fail or anything like that. But yeah, well done for the Raiders though for making that win, 14 points to 6, and I reckon that this match was a really good match anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Dragons going up against the Sharks. Now, this game was a really good match. I do think that the Dragons were playing a really good effort, a really good game for them. But for the Sharks, though, they were just playing average, but didn't really concede an effort to obviously win that game. But it was a 30 points to 16 scoreline for that match, and I tipped the Sharks by 4 points, but they obviously lost, so I only conceded one wrong in my tipping, so 7 out of 8 I think for that tipping. That I obviously got one wrong anyway. But for the tries for the Dragons though, it was Michaeli Ravalawa that scored a double, 2 tries. Matt Duffy scored 1, Ben Hunt and Cameron McInnes obviously scored 1, obviously 2, which I think that Ben Hunt played a really good match for that game. Obviously Matt Duffy played a really solid effort, and Cameron McInnes, he was alright, but he just doesn't really harden up a bit. But for the Sharks though, for the tries that obviously concealed was Mawini Hiroti, Sione Katoa and Wade Graham. I think like Sione Katoa played alright, but I just think that the Sharks really didn't aim up their game a bit, because obviously John Morris wasn't happy with that game, which concealed a big loss anyway. But yeah, for my player of the match, for number 1, which he was number 17 of that jersey, was Matt Duffy for the Dragons. He was a really good player, and I think that he had a great game and really made a lead to the Dragons to make some points and obviously make an effort anyway, which they obviously need to, because they had 4 losses and they obviously need one to obviously win that game anyway. But I really do think that that game was a really good match, and yeah, well done to the Dragons to obviously get that win anyway. And last but certainly not least, we see the Bulldogs going up against the Roosters. Now, this match was a really, really spectacular match. But my Roosters, though, that I am the third favourite of that team, were absolutely outstanding. The Roosters are a very hard team to beat, and I just think that it's a credit for them to obviously make this win. And I obviously tipped the Roosters though by 20 points, and they obviously won this match by 42 points to 6. That game was absolutely a flogging. And for the Bulldogs though, they just didn't really play a really good effort, and they're just terrible. But they need to obviously conceal a win for the next game they play. But for the tries that obviously scored for the Bulldogs was only this player, Kieran Foran. But for the Roosters though, actually for the Bulldogs, Kieran Foran played a really good match, but he just doesn't really conceal a lot of effort for that game, for the squad anyway. But for the Roosters though, for the tries that obviously concealed the deal, was Angus Crichton. He obviously scored 2. Cole Flanagan scored 1. James Tedesco scored 3 tries, and Brett Morris obviously scored 1, obviously 2. Let me just say this. James Tedesco played a really standout match. I really do think that he's going to have a wonderful career, and he is just going to have a really outstanding career. But well done to you. You're just a really top player that obviously stands out for me anyway. But my player of the match is obviously you anyway, James Tedesco, for number 1 for the Roosters fullback. He is just absolutely marvellous, and when he gets the ball, he is just doesn't stop running with the ball. And when he does, he's just dangerous with the ball, but obviously conceals points for their team anyway, for the Roosters. But yeah, well done for him, and well done for the Roosters for making this effort up against the Bulldogs anyway. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care guys, stay safe, and have a good one. Plus, let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're sitting on 157, which that means I am literally stoked to see a lot of people subscribing to my YouTube channel, which I am so pleased, and I thank you so much about it. I feel really respect and blessed for you guys that obviously love my videos anyway. But until then guys, let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're sitting on 157 anyway, so let's get up to that, and I'll see you guys next time.